All right, we'll go ahead and get started and just kind of wing it. We may have invisible voices through the course of the meeting. Welcome everyone to the special events meeting. We take a couple of things really seriously at the City of Boise: public health and transparency in our public meetings. So you all probably noticed yesterday we made a decision in light of increasing positivity rates and very much lower than hoped for and anticipated vaccination rates around the state. Under the guidance of the CDC, we decided to go back to requiring masks in all city facilities. We're really hopeful that the pandemic doesn't continue to worsen. We're not hearing great things from our healthcare providers right now. So I'll just reiterate that we are continuing on with special events planning as we have been this summer. The caveat we've been giving the whole time is that the pandemic makes the rules, we don't. So it may change what we're able to do as we go forward. We're very hopeful that our community will continue to rise to the occasion, wear masks, physically distance, and increase vaccination rates, which would help us get the Delta variant under control. But it's not looking great right now. So just want to give that caveat to everybody who's planning special events. We would hate to see another cancellation like we had a year and a half ago. So to the extent that you can also encourage people that you know and love and follow your events to increase their vaccination rates and continue to comply with public health recommendations, that would be greatly appreciated. We did a quick pivot with this meeting in light of that to go back to a hybrid format. Oh, it looks like we are going to be able to have some faces. So bear with us. For those of you who are in the room, it is very important to use the mic and to use the mic properly. You'll notice that I'm within just a few inches of the mic. That allows the recording and folks who are joining us virtually to hear for the system to pick up. So appreciate everyone who's here today wearing masks and using the mic properly. And so for our presenters, you might have to share the mic around a little bit. And we may have a couple extra that aren't being used. We might put a couple on the dais for you or on the table for you. And then you just push the button when it turns green, then you've got a live mic. So let's go around, since we have some folks virtual and some folks around the table. I'm just going to go quickly through the agencies that we have represented and call on folks to introduce themselves as I call your agency. I'll start with myself. I'm Maria Waig. I'm the Director of the Office of Community Engagement within the Office of the Mayor here at the City of Boise. ACHD.
John Wasson, Ada County Highway District.
Shane, Boise City Parking.
Shane Anderson, Boise City Parking.
Public Works, Ed, do we have you? No, Ed. Republic Services.
Conrad McDaniel, Republic Services.
VRT.
Leslie Pedroza, Valley Regional Transit.
Boise City Risk Management.
Corey Pence, Risk Management.
Thank you. Central District Health. Oh, it looks like we had a Central District Health chat. Okay, we've got Central District Health. Parks and Rec.
Chloe Salabanks filling in for Summer Altieri for Parks and Rec.
DBA.
Heather Lyle, DBA.
Ada County EMS.
Linda Scopoletti, Ada County Paramedics.
Boise Fire.
Jesse Tappert, Boise Fire.
BPD.
Dwight Kirkland and Matt Kumpelinka, Boise Police.
And Boise City Emergency Management.
Rachel Holford, City of Boise Emergency Management.
And Clerk's Office.
And Kelly Frank with the City Clerk's Office.
Terrific. Thank you, everyone. There's the applicant today, the Boise Goat Head Festival. I'll pass it off to you all.
Hey there, I'm Emily Summerhays. I'm the Development Director for Boise Bicycle Project. And I have Mindy Hoskins, who is our Event and Outreach Manager for Boise Bicycle Project. And Kylie, I'm blanking on your last name. Kylie from Lost Grove. And the three of us are presenting today. So I'll just say that Boise Go Ahead Fest is in its 4th year, returning to Cecil D. Andrus for the 3rd time, but this planning committee is brand new. So we are excited for your questions to help us make sure that we have all of the ducks in the row. And I'm going to pass it over to Mindy.
Thank you. Yeah, no worries. If anyone has any questions, I printed off all the permits and I have them ready to go. So if anyone's like, have you gotten this yet? I have. It's printed, just in case. Awesome. Well, thank you guys. Really appreciate your time today. Again, Boise Go Ahead Festival 2021. We moved it later in August again, just to give us a few more weeks to plan. So a little different time this year. If you haven't heard of the Boise Go Ahead Festival, the whole point is to bring the biking community together in a really fun and pedal powered way. Every bicyclist has run into a Go Ahead, right? And gotten a flat tire. So as in the months leading up to the Go Ahead Festival, our goal is to rid over 4,000 pounds of the Go Ahead weed. We're at 3,000 pounds already, just so you guys know, which is really exciting. Good news with 4 weeks to go. So it's just a really fun, wacky way to bring cyclists together to have a really good time in one big group. So the goal is, I put 23rd, I already made a mistake, sorry. August 28th, we'll start at 10 a.m. and at 5 p.m. We'll do set up the evening before, and then hopefully be completely out of the park by 8 p.m. that evening. Cecil D. Andrus Park, downtown in front of the Capitol. We're looking, based on the numbers in the past, about 4,000 to 6,000 people. We have 7 food trucks signed up, 3 dessert stands, and about 10 to 15 community vendors, nonprofits, and local businesses alike. So we will start as usual in front of the Capitol steps, and then the parade route will run to 4th Street down Jefferson, and then up Bannock to 14th, and then loop back around the same roughly 2 mile parade that we've had in the years past. Just a quick layout, the stage will be on the opposite side. The stage that we're using is going to be the same stage. If you're not familiar with the summer concert series that Lost Grove's putting on, or the Morrison Center's portable stage, that's the stage we'll be using. And it'll be, there it is. It'll be on the opposite side of the park as it has been in the past. Just a quick little flip flop. But I've spoke to Summer about that and they're familiar with the stage. And then the entire perimeter of the park will be fenced, and then we'll have security at each entrance and exit to make sure that people that come in have wristbands.
For John, this year, which is different from past years, we're looking to close all of the streets surrounding the park. So you're looking at full closures on Bannock, 6th, Jefferson, and then the 1 branch of Capitol. And the idea there is that we're bringing, first of all, I think based on the way that events have already gone this summer and the turnout for the summer concert series, we do expect the high end of that $4,000 to $6,000 range, or 4,000 to 6,000 person range. And having the streets closed allows us to have more space to social distance, as well as bring in more bicycle related activities throughout the day.
Thank you. And then I do have a map. I think the next one is the closures that we're looking for. That'll just allow us to kind of expand the activities into the street as far as being able to have cycles out there, make sure that the grass stays really nice in the park. And those would be full closures throughout the day. And then security plan, we'll have 1 security on site for the night before to keep track of anything that's been set up the evening before. And then day of, and this is all through Absolute Security of Idaho. And then they'll have 2 staff at each entrance and exit, 1 staff for the stage, 1 staff on Capitol, and then 2 roamers throughout the crowd. And that can be adjusted as necessary.
And just to add to the security for on the alcohol side too, Lost Grove will be pulling the catering permit for it. We plan on selling all canned beverages, beer, wine, and cider. And then the hired security will primarily be for crowd control is our plan. So there'll be multiple ones at each entrance and exit. We will staff them with wristbands, but with the kind of stress more on the crowd control side. And then the Lost Grove, all of our servers are tip certified, will be the ones primarily roaming and wristbanding. We are going to do tokens. So there'll be a token tent. It's kind of towards the center of the park across from the stage, where I plan on Lost Grove staff wristbanding everybody in line. And then nobody can sell tokens to anyone without a wristband yet. So that's our plan there, is that primarily Lost Grove staff will be wristbanding. Hired security will be more crowd control and monitoring alcohol entering and leaving the area. And I think those are the main points on alcohol. Cool. Perfect. Thank you.
And then again, we'll have that fence surrounding the perimeter of the park to make sure that alcohol can't go in or out of the fenced area, but then we'll have the activities on the street. So we'll keep a good eye on that as well. Neighborhood notification, we haven't started that. Well, we've started the process. We haven't sent anything out yet. So I have a neighborhood notification printed up, but it looks like we are in the downtown core and the 8th Street corridor, and we meet those requirements. So we'll make sure to go through and notify all those that are in there. And I have all that already written out, so I can send it right out. Trash and recycling, we're gonna have 10 trash cans, 10 recycling cans. Lost Grove already has access to recycling bins, and I've reached out for trash cans, and we can also rent them through Event So we definitely have that figured out. I have already spoke to Conrad about a 10 or 20-yard dumpster for recycling and a 20-yard dumpster for trash, and then we'll have volunteers throughout the day changing the trash, and then stationed at the bins to make sure that everything's getting recycled and thrown away properly. And then right when you walk in from the main entrance on the corner of Capitol and Bannock, there will be an info tent. Our info tent will also be our first aid tent, our lost child tent, and then we'll have volunteers on staff throughout the day as well to provide assistance for any disabled individuals that need help around the park or assisted. Did it. Questions?
Great, thanks you guys, and congratulations on collecting so much already. It's a huge community service for us. All right, we will go around. John, let's start with you as per normal, ACHD.
Thank you. Glad to hear it's coming back. It is going to be a rather busy day. What time do you anticipate wanting to close things down on Saturday morning?
7 a.m. for the perimeter of the park would be ideal, and then a rolling closure for the parade, which would begin when the parade kicks off at 5 minutes to 11.
Okay, we're going to have to talk about the rolling closure, because with you going out and coming back around, I'm not sure a rolling closure is actually going to be the safest or the most effective. We may have to look at a hard closure, but that's something that I can talk with Lieutenant Hill and Sergeant Konvalinka at Boise Police Department about. Because we want to make sure that the safety of your participants is paramount.
There, we'll take guidance from you and do what is best.
So you're asking for a full closure on 6th Street?
Yes.
And what are we going to do over there?
So we'll have, that's, I believe, where the trash and recycling bins will be. And then we'll have some, I guess, like bicycle activations. So in the past, all of the activities have been inside the park, and we're hoping to do things like a kids course and other bicycle activations throughout the day. Nothing involving huge infrastructure, more kind of grassroots activities, and 6th Street will be a major location for that.
We'll have to review that traffic control plan because that's either going to send traffic down to 3rd or all the way over to 15th Street to be able to get around. So you're talking about some pretty significant temporary traffic control for that type of hard closure.
Clear. And we acknowledge that we knew going in that the road closures would probably be the biggest element of this. So we're happy to connect and look towards, you know, what we can do and what ACHD can provide. And then obviously make changes based on what is and isn't possible.
Okay. The other big thing that you guys will have to coordinate is with you shutting down Jefferson and shutting down Bannock for the hard closure, and then for the parade. 10th and Idaho is also now where the market sets up. And you will have to coordinate with them to make sure that your traffic control and their traffic control companies have the right stuff out there, and don't overlap and don't have confusing signage for the drivers. We'll review it, but you guys have to work with their traffic control company to make sure that it's good to go.
I don't know if you can see me or not, so I'm just going to say that's clear.
Okay. It's going to put an incredible stress on downtown Boise during that weekend. And so we want to make sure that everything's good, because we're going to have a lot of upset, unhappy, confused, wanting to go place drivers, and they only know one way. They're like rabbits. They only know one way how to get places. I was going to say lemmings, but we're supposed to make sure we don't say bad things. So I can't be too harsh on lemmings right now.
That's great. And John, I know Mindy sent you an email yesterday, and maybe we can set up a time to talk offline as well. Because as I mentioned, the three of us are new to planning, and we know that the ACHD piece is one of the biggest ones. So we just want to do a good job and make it awesome.
Okay, that's all I've got right now.
Thanks, John. It's a good reminder. I forgot to tell everyone another thing to keep in mind since we record all these meetings is to mind your P's and Q's and don't say anything you wouldn't want your mom to hear you say. Boise City parking, Shane.
Well, good morning. Welcome back. I guess the biggest things I'm going to have is whenever you get your downtown notification together, just get it to Kelly so I have access to that. I've got the previous map that I had done for Jimmy from 2019, but it sounds like things are going to be a little bit different. So it's going to be kind of contingent on your finalized traffic control plan with the county. But we can touch base on that when we get to that point. And just so you know, off the previous one that I had, it's basically all the meters around the park, south side of Bannock from Capitol to 6th, and then also the east side of 6th from Bannock to Jefferson. So
Great, thank you.
thank you.
Before we move to recycling, I did have one question for you all, since we're talking about access. I noticed that you said in the staff tent that you would have availability to provide assistance for folks with disabilities. And I'm curious if that's because you're anticipating with this layout closures that might impede access for those who use adaptive technologies like wheelchairs.
We don't. So the 4 sidewalks within the park will remain fully open and unobstructed. And I think it's just more with inclusivity in mind that we want to make sure that we have accommodation for anyone needing it. So if, for example, a token person was not on the sidewalk and they were over there, then we could have a volunteer, go and get somebody to come back and assist. Just want to make sure that we're as accessible as possible.
Great. Thank you so much for that. And thanks for taking that into consideration. Republic Services.
Thank you and good morning. Mindy, nice to see you in person after all the emails. So I appreciate the communication. Yeah, we're about done with this. I want to say thank you for having your recycling list here. It looks correct. Aluminum cans, cardboard, and paper. So thank you for choosing to use cans instead of plastic cups. There's one thing I forgot to double check. It's probably okay, but I just want to make sure, compare what you have requested for this year to 2019. I think 220 yards is going to be fine, but I should double check that on my end. And then we heard Shane talk about parking. Sounds like he's got the meters ready to go and to be covered. So I'm good there. The ACHD permit, thank you for submitting that and getting me a copy. There aren't many details on it. So I'm unclear if you need a second permit for the second dumpster or if the one permit covers them both. And maybe that's a question I need to go back to ACHD, but it's light on the details.
It really is. Yeah. I think that I did state that there were 2 dumpsters, a 20-yard recycling, a 20-yard trash dumpster, and when I replied, but I can double check and look back at that for you. And then, we'll just have to get the extra, since you guys only operate Monday through Friday, we'll just get the extra parking meter hoods for where the dumpsters are parked for that Friday through the Monday.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And for the trash and recycling boxes, to spread around the park there, you've got that covered on your end. You don't need any equipment from Republic Services or Public Works.
That's it. Ed has let me kind of borrow the recycling bins for our neighborhood concert series concerts all summer. And the last one is 3 days before Goat Head Fest. So I was going to hope that I could just give them the yellow recycling bins. And then we have a bunch of, if it's okay with you guys, the cardboard trash boxes don't work the best for us, we found. So I'm gonna, we have a ton of the gray big garbage cans that we'll use for trash at the park instead of those boxes.
Not the first time I've heard that.
That's
So,
okay.
yeah, as long as you're okay and you know to work with that, if you need those yellow recycling containers, that's great. Thank you. That's all I have.
BRT.
Thank you. I'll just need to know what the road closures end up being with ACHD. So we have to reroute our buses if needed. And for the parade as well, what the hours are. If you decide a hard closure, rolling closure as well.
Absolutely.
Risk management looks like we have everything we need. Thanks.
I think the same for parks. You guys look good. Your map looks good. Summer has everything she needs. So thank you.
Wait, do we have anything from Central District Health before we go around the room?
While we wait to see if Joe or Natasha can log in, they did say that they were waiting on the notification of event form for your event. So if you could just make note of that. Page 23 of the main special events application, or excuse me, page 21 has links to that. And then Natasha and Joe are on that sign off sheet too, if you want to reach out to them if you need more details.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm with the Downtown Boise
Kelly?
Association.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
This is Jamie. Kelly, it looks like Joe actually provided something in the comments if you want to take a look at that from Central District Health.
Okay, I can't see that, Jamie, unfortunately. Are you able to?
I am not at this time where I am at. So what we can do is we can just take those comments and forward those on to the event organizers. So we're happy to do that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, hi. Is this working? So I would just say that when you're making these notifications to the neighbors and the businesses that are going to be impacted, pay special attention to not only the Jefferson and Bannock Street businesses, but those on 9th and 10th and 11th between Bannock and Idaho. They will be impacted on both sides with the market going on that day too. So they'll definitely want to know, and I'm sure you'll hear some interesting comments about that. But yeah, and then if you can just send me the copy of your notification plan, that would be great too.
Absolutely will do.
Thanks.
Linda Scoplet, Ada County Paramedics. I see that you guys have a tent set for medical and lost child booth. Who is going to be your medical coverage for this event?
We have a lovely volunteer. Her name is Megan Simic. She's ran the medical booth for all 3 prior years, like in person.
Okay, and is she affiliated with a specific group? I want to say that I'd spoken with her in the years past. Like medical corps or anything like that.
You know, I don't know, is it St. Luke's?
It's kind of sad that we don't know where
That's
she
okay.
works, but we can
Um,
definitely find out.
I'll forward you our medical application and have her fill that out. It's just a quick online, yes, you
I can
have
forward
that
it to
ready
you.
to go. Okay,
Yeah.
and so if that, all that contact information, just send that to me. And then we'll get it uploaded into the events with Kelly. So that
Perfect.
that's on file. And as long as you guys are good to go, unless you need anything else from me, that would be great. The only other portion of that I would advise for your staff and for the medical would be Pulse Point. Pulsepoint.org has that app that you guys can download. So if you have an emergency at your location, you'll be able to respond quickly.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you. And if you need any links for any of that, I can forward those to you as well.
Hi, Jesse with Boise Fire. Thank you for presenting today. I'm looking at your permit here and most of it looks pretty good. I just sent you, Mindy, I sent you a food truck checklist for your vendors. It's a document that we put together for them. So make sure you distribute it to each one of your vendors because they won't be permitted to operate unless they have their inspection completed and then a sticker that verifies that before the event. So go ahead and send that when you get a chance. The perimeter, the fencing, we're going to need, if you don't already have it, I don't see it on the map here, but 2 additional emergency exits because you said you're going to be in the upper end of the 4,000 to 6,000 people in attendance. So you can keep them closed during the event if you don't want them, open, but they have to be available. Just 2 more like on the corners. I see you got opposite ends, the entrance and the exit. So the other opposite ends would be good place to have those emergency exits. So 2 more. And just make sure your tent vendors that are cooking with food, they've got access to extinguishers. Their tents are weighted down, just common sense type stuff. And then the beer areas, are those just cordoned off areas or those tents as well?
We're still kind of designing the beer garden. We don't plan on doing tents. We
Okay.
were talking about using like pegboard as a background, and then we'll just have a ton of coolers. And then if anything, we might develop some shade structure, but that area is really shady too. So
Okay.
I don't think we'll need it, but
Okay,
I'll keep you posted when
yeah,
I
just keep
pull the
us
catering
updated.
permit too, to make sure that's all on there.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Matt Convalinka, Boise, please. Just a couple questions. John hit a lot of the questions that I had. Did you say 1 leg of capital in front of the? So I would expect that we would want to close both legs just to make that easier. and not to give any vehicles, because if we leave one site open, invariably, we're gonna have some issues. Do you know the number of security personnel you plan on having at the event?
I do. It was 8, I think you had on that.
Yeah, she proposed 8, our security, the owner of the organization, and we can add more if you want us to.
Do you know how many, at this point, do you know how many of those are assigned to the beer area?
We're gonna have 1 hired security and then probably 8 to 9 Lost Grove staff in addition to the 8 security, hired security.
Okay. And just confirming, you want to close all of 6th Street. We may be able to assist you with some, especially if you're gonna have kids on 6th Street, with some heavy duty barricades that'll be more secure, and I'll talk with John about that. Other than that, that is all the questions I had. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Well, hello. It's nice to see the event coming back. So really just want to kind of solidify your final plans. So what I'll do is I will schedule a meeting with police, fire, and medics and ACHD so we can go through your final traffic control plan and also talk about any special instructions that may be needed. There's going to be several buildings in that area that get impacted, and you do have residents and people that work on Saturdays in those areas. So we'll just need to identify those and come up with a plan. So that could potentially include staffing of those locations, but that's what we can work through. And then we will all agree upon ingress egress routes. So if there is an emergency, we can all get in and out easily. And then also taking a look at your what you have for your comms for your staff. How are you going to communicate with your staff if something is going on? How are you going to get a hold of 911? And then also, how are you going to communicate with your attendees if needed?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hello again. It is nice to see all of you in person. And if you need anything, like I mentioned before the meeting, please don't hesitate to call me. Otherwise, I'll just be looking for that list of vendors with the eating and drinking mobile licenses. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks so much, you guys. It's good to have this event back and to see a new team putting it all together. All right, well, you'll be in touch, I think, with everyone here to get this finalized, and you are free to stay and listen to the rest of the meeting or get on with your day, either one.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next up, we have Tree Fort. This is one of the events the community has been anxiously awaiting for your return. And I just want to say, as y'all are coming up for the presentation, in addition to your presentation, if you wouldn't mind sharing with the community a little bit, the city set a pretty ambitious climate goal about a month ago for the community to be carbon neutral by 2050. And Tree Fort has really incorporated some pretty innovative and cool climate considerations into their planning that can be a great example for other events and the rest of the community at large. So if you guys wouldn't mind also sharing some of the things that you've incorporated into the event specifically to address climate, I think that would be awesome.
Got it. All right. We know music. We know how to use mics. I swear. We'll do it. Maybe we do. All right, it's on. There we go. Thank you for having us. My name's Eric Gilbert. For those of you who don't know me, it's nice to see a lot of familiar faces here. I'm the festival director for Tree Fort. We've been doing these for, this will be our 9th festival. This will be our 2nd one for our 9th festival. So it's nice to be back. I want to introduce you to Kevin Mazzarelli. He is the production coordinator with us now. He's new to our team. Everyone else you will recognize if you were here before. This is John Betts, our production manager. David Roberts in charge of food and beverage. Drew Larona in charge of box office and sponsorships. David Broderick over here is our green team, and we can speak to sustainability efforts with him. Allie Morgan is our festival manager. Mike Ench over here is our safety ops leader, and you guys also know him from Northwest Traffic Services. Did I get that right, Ench? Cool. And Dan Hale is on Mike's team. So a couple things. It's good to be back. I appreciate the addressing
the new masking rules that we have before us. We can talk a little bit about that as needed. Obviously, for those you don't know, we postponed 2 weeks before our last festival, so we're not traumatized. I swear, we're ready to roll with any punches that we have. We feel prepared. One of the things why we moved to September, well, we kicked it as far out as we possibly could and moved it to September, is because we will have a lot more outdoor spaces to put to use, and that's one thing that we're excited about doing. And as we get into some of the changes, there's actually very minimal changes to our layout, other than we added an extra day of our outdoor main stage, because historically on Wednesday, when we don't have that, all of our indoor venues absorb a lot more of our crowd. So that sort of will help us spread people out. So real quick, before we get into the presentation, speaking to the climate related stuff, that's one thing that's been really, so for one thing, if you don't know, we were the first festival in the nation that was a B Corp certified festival. And so we are a for-profit entity, but B Corp certification, it's a benefit corporation designation, and it's essentially, it's a new model in the country. And the process of getting certified is sort of like getting organic certified, or I don't know, a few other processes like that. And one of our key components of things is, in the music industry at large, there's a lot of impact on the environment and there's a lot of waste. And so one of the things we've done is really to minimize our waste. So we don't use any single-use plastics. And I do want David to speak to this briefly, except we don't have enough microphones. So David, you just, yeah. So we do that. In 2019, I believe we were carbon neutral. Is that true, Drew? Was it 2019 or 2018? 2019. So we've been putting to use more solar power. And then also in that year, we partnered with someone to buy some carbon credits to further offset. And we have any other, David, is there anything else I'm missing? And we do a lot of composting and. Cool. And then we're excited to partner with the city further, because we really appreciate the city's efforts on those fronts as well. And I think a lot of it is also just messaging to the people that are traveling in and everything to, carpool, bike when you can, and a lot of messaging like that. Is there anything else you'd like me to address on that front? Cool.
No, that's great. Thank you.
All right. So quick brief, for those who don't know us, we're a 5-day festival, and we use most of the active venues in downtown Boise. So, and then we will have more outdoor spaces. We can go over that a little bit more, but we pride ourselves in really trying to amplify and celebrate how great Boise already is, while also being aspirational about what's possible here, both culturally and we're big music fans. So. Any guidance on Kelly? Are you able to flip from up there? Cool. So these are sort of anecdotal things about who benefits. One of the things that I think distinguishes Treefort from a lot of other events is most of the downtown businesses are actively involved and actively benefit from what we do, which is also, for all of you, it's one of the interesting challenges of Treefort is we're not isolated on one location. We are pretty active throughout the city, but really our main stage property at 12th and Grove, which we'll get into, is that's our main sort of festival site. And then after that, we just activate a lot of other community partners. And so, go ahead. And we do pride in being Treefort is for everyone. On that, we have a kid for it. There's a lot of family focused stuff. We're really keen on diversity in general, both of music and art styles, but also in the demographics that take part in Treefort, and we do our best to be as inclusive as possible. Kelly, we're good. If you can, thank you. Oop. So this is our main stage layout, like I mentioned. So I think we have a couple slides on this. I guess when we get into the road closures, but the main road closures are that we do block off that 12th and Grove cross section on both sides there. And I believe Mike, help me. I think we're closing the streets on Monday night so at 6 p.m. on Monday night. And you'll see our main stage is on a private parking lot right there in the bottom left-hand quadrant. But then we activate the streets as well. And then our ale fort is the top right quadrant, our kid fort's on the left quadrant, top left quadrant. And then we do have some other with Woodland Empires down there for in the right bottom quadrant. We will have a stage in their parking lot and stuff. And that's just more of a partnership with them. But next slide, I think, unless. This just speaks to our security. Like I said, Mike Ench and Dan Hill are overseeing that, and we the last couple of years we try to work with multiple security companies just so we can get the best of all the companies. And right now, MAB and Protector Services are doing our main stage and Ale Fort properties, and then we do a lot of communication and coordination with all the a lot of in-house security at a lot of the bars and stuff. And so we do some coordinating with them. But Mike, anything else to say? To do that? Yep. Carrie Cardoni's not here today, but she's been volunteering with the festival since the beginning, I believe, and she is a registered nurse and I believe works at St. Luke's. Is that correct? Yep. And then this year we've been doing, one thing I was say, we've been partnering with Richard Radnovich. He does injury medical care, and we've been doing some vaccine promotion with him and offering free vaccines at some of our summer events. And speaking to that briefly too, we have been talking to Central District Health, who reached out to us, and the state of Idaho, and we're planning to do some more outreach to young people on vaccinations as long as all those things get in place. It's not what we're good at, but we're good at maybe getting the word out, and so we're trying to help with that. So anyways, so I think injury medical care will likely be doing our EMS services this year. And I think, like all of us, we will be addressing COVID-19 as we need to, depending on where things are at that point in time. Yeah, so we have a ranger station, we call it. It's kind of a Wes Anderson inspired info booth, or a real life person frequently asked questions. And so we do a lot with just trying to communicate regularly to the public on all fronts, and it is sort of defaults as well as if there's a lost child or things like that. And then we do have a lot of ADA efforts as well. There's, I think, only 2 of our venues in downtown are just grandfathered into not being ADA accessible, and then we do provide ADA accessible parking, and at the main stage I think we still have like a raised area for ADA folks, and just put a lot of efforts on that front as well. So as mentioned, David Broderick leading the green team, and who've been doing amazing work for many years, and thankful for it. And they're pretty proactive on doing their best to sort everything. David, do you have any other comments on some of the single-use stuff? And so for those that can't hear because you don't have a microphone, we're working with Central Health, and also we're with some of our food related stuff we've had, we're trying to replace that with getting rid of the single use stuff and using dishwashing station. Okay. That's another comment on the climate. We do use a lot of reclaimed materials. So a lot of our festival decorations and everything, we actually are reusing a lot of materials. We actually partner with Second Chance Building Supply on a lot of that stuff. And so this is a pretty comprehensive list of all the various venues we're using. I know there's probably a few more on there, but so that gives the general point. There's a main stage, and then all those other venues. You can go to the next one. I know we haven't finalized our event insurance for this year, so with risk management, we'll have that soon. If we haven't gotten that to you yet, maybe we have. Am I not noticing? I hope you guys enjoy the drawing we put up there. like in previous years, we'll be doing in-person notifications. Stacy Alexander, who's not here, has done that with us before. We'll be doing that once again, and our team will be overseeing that. As mentioned, David Roberts will be, he's also with Bitter Creek Ale House, and Bitter Creek Ale House is who pulls our catering permit for our main stage property. Here are the road closures. This kind of shows the main one. The only other part other than that, around that one block, that 12th and Grove corridor, is just to the west on Grove Street. We close Grove between 13th and 14th just to help with foot traffic, and in front of the Modern. Some of our venues over there. I think that's our, yeah. These are just a couple other, we can flip through these, Kelly. These are mostly just for the committee to be able to have with them. Then we do a lot, yeah, I mean, obviously in the 12th and Grove area, we're working with a lot of different, moving some parkers, and then, yeah, just in front of some of our venues too, we will be hooding meters again, just to provide band parking mostly, so. And thanks a lot.
Thanks, you guys, super comprehensive. We will go through the roster. John.
Lucky me. So this is a very, very good event and a well-run event, so I appreciate that. You will have to coordinate with Idaho Transportation Department because you are putting signage down in their right-of-way on Front Street. So we can get together. We've got plenty of time. I can get you in touch with the right person over there. However, typically they will let us do their traffic control on something like this, since we're actually not closing any of their lanes on Front Street. We have hired a pedestrian coordinator and ADA access person, so she will probably be looking to make sure that we're not blocking any sidewalks, impacting any pedestrian ramps, and if we are, that we have the right detours in place to get those folks around there properly. You know, and then notification for some of those condos will be addressed by Shane, but that's going to be important because both the city and ACHD typically gets a couple of complaints every year regarding the loss of parking temporarily.
Okay.
Those are the big things.
Thank you.
Shane?
Well, welcome back, guys. Looking forward to it. One thing I know we've already, as far as our meter footprint, hoods, we've got most of that already squared away. The one thing I will add though, and I know you know this, but west side of 12th, Main to Grove, north side of Grove, 12th to 13th, all residential. You know, if possible, I'd like, although we're contacting the businesses and condos, the Idna Hotel, whatnot, that we're actually flyering those vehicles probably 2 weeks prior to it, just because every year I know we end up having some stragglers down there that we have to deal with, and the more proactive we can be on that, the better for everybody involved. And other than that, that's really all I got. I know we'll be in contact several times between now and then anyway, so that's all I got for now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shane. Now we'll just start going around the room, start with Conrad.
Thank you. Good morning. Appreciate you presenting today. David, I hope you're not walking away. Okay. Oh, perfect. Yeah, I saw this come up on the agenda and I was worried that you might have moved on to something else because I normally hear from you about a dozen times by now.
It's been a busy summer.
Yeah, good to see you back. Thanks. I appreciate all the sustainability efforts Treefort's made over the years. It just gets better and better every year. So I do appreciate that. And in fact, in the past, we've used the compost carts, and I think they're actually the smaller version of the compost carts.
Yep.
Was that enough for could you do more than that, do you think?
Yes, the compost carts, we had plenty of. The glass carts, we will be updating or upgrading more of those this year.
Okay.
So
we can do that too. We might be able to have a solution for you to have something bigger for compost if you think you could use it.
Oh, okay.
But we don't have to go that route, but we can certainly look at it.
Okay.
Looking at the application, it's just my style, very simple. I see the containers you want to order. I assume Event Rents is going to place that order.
Yeah, we work with Event Rents for all of our trash and recycling stations. We've developed those stations with them. So yeah.
Yeah, I said simple because in the past, you guys have sent me a pretty complex trash and recycling plan. So when I see it this simple, it kind of makes me worry.
Yeah, it hasn't changed from all the documentation that we did for 2020. It just hasn't gotten to you yet. My apologies. So all the work that we did for 2020, those documents and plans are basically still the same.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's great.
I'll reach out and touch base with you as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, at this time, I don't think I have anything else. Did you have a question for me?
No, I don't think we have anything that has changed significantly enough to render any specific questions in this venue. Yeah.
Okay. Actually, I do have one more thing. For the public to use, the trash and recycling containers, I can't remember if you borrow those from us or if you have your own.
No, so we've put those together with Event Rents. We have specific 32-gallon cans that have been labeled, and our teams manage those throughout the festival. So,
okay,
yeah,
great. Yeah, great to have you all back. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
BRT.
Good morning. I know we work with you guys on this already, so I think we're good. We plan on having a battery electric bus for the shuttle this year, so we're helping.
Awesome.
So we'll have 2 buses for you guys.
Cool. As you mentioned, when you get it finalized, we'd love to see the insurance.
Yes.
Nothing from Parks, just personally very excited to attend this year.
Thank you.
I think everybody knows that this is happening and they're all really excited about it. So as far as your notification plan, if you can just have Stacy send that over to me, along with maybe a copy of the flyer that you'll be putting on those vehicles. And that way, if anybody asks for them, I can send them out also.
Awesome.
I'm happy to help with that. And then the other thing that you guys might want to do, you've probably done this in the past, but contact the Downtown Neighborhood Association. And then get them copies of that information too, because they can help share it also for those residents in downtown. Other than that, I'm sure you guys have it dialed in. Let me know if you need anything.
Thank you.
You bet.
Hi, welcome back. I'm going to defer a lot of my medical questions and things. I believe we're probably going to end up having a safety and security briefing because I've got a handful of questions. If you guys wouldn't mind adding Dr. Radnovich and the COVID clinic or vaccines to that medical plan.
Yep.
And we can get that updated in there. That'd be great because there's a few things that we'd like to be able to make sure are happening and that's following all the protocols for CDH and everybody else.
Yep, understood.
I will defer the rest to Rachel.
Thank you.
Morning, guys. Have you applied for the fire department permits as of yet? The tent permits? Okay, so this one will require a special event permit as well, a separate fire department special event permit. I haven't seen it come across our system yet. Can you describe, you're having 2 stages, you said? There's 2 stages?
No, there's one main stage.
One main stage?
Yeah, and then all I did mention, because sometimes it gets lost in the weeds with us a little bit is that we do have a lot of other partners in town, and they're, like the Modern puts a stage in their parking lot, and then Woodland Empire will have one in their parking lot. It just happens to be on this map, and they're down in the right quadrant.
Okay, and
There will be a small stage in the Ale Fort.
Okay.
Oh, actually, excuse me. There is the Radio Boise stage, which is going to be a flatbed truck. It's on the far right there.
How big is that truck?
It's do you know the dimensions on it?
So it's like the semi-trailer type.
It's more like a farm truck with.
Oh, so it's
yeah.
25. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. If you could just make sure you send information on those.
Yeah.
In your permits. And I think you heard my food truck talk to the previous event. So just make sure I'll send that information to you as well. But other than that, yeah, just apply like you did in past years, and I don't think we'll have a problem with the fire department.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. I really don't have too much this time. I anticipate that our staffing will be in, similar to previous years. We'll get you a manpower agreement and we'll work with Rachel as well. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Welcome back. It's nice to
Hello.
see all of you again. So we'll do like we've done in the past years, which is host a safety and security meeting where we all get together, review your plans, just kind of make sure we have identified each of the resources, what their roles and responsibilities are, ingress, egress, and just make sure everything's covered. The only thing that I would ask, and we've struggled with this in the past, is we really need a full list of all those satellite venues and a schedule. And I know it changes, but that's really important for us. We have a very busy schedule that weekend in the downtown core. We also have Fit One going on, both markets, and we're coming off of several busy weeks prior to. So all of our resources are going to be stretched thin, and we just need to be able to account for everybody.
Yep.
So I'll be reaching out as soon as possible to schedule that with all of you.
Great.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So Central District Health did say that they have not gotten the notice of event form yet. That is due 30 days out. So you still have some time there along with your food and beverage vendor list for them.
Yeah.
And then as you're collecting that, I'll need the City of Boise mobile eating and drinking licenses for your vendors. And the only other thing I was going to kind of mention and tack on with Rachel, that there are a lot of venues that are affiliated with you. I know that there's some places that kind of piggyback on, but any questions or anything that they have, you can always direct to me and I can help disperse, because I know that we did have some issues in the past with tents not being set up properly, where fire access couldn't get into a facility and things of that sort. So we're always here to help educate. You can point them in our direction, but because they do most often carry your name, there is a little bit of responsibility for you guys too, to assist with that. So just keep that in mind. And I think that's it. Thanks.
And just to speak that briefly, we'll certainly with anybody that's directly working with us, we'll do our best. And even with the people that are sort of just like tagging along, we'll try to make sure they're doing their best as well. Most of those people at least talk to us. So we definitely want all that to be in line best we can. So thanks.
Thanks so much, you guys. I think we can all say that we're collectively crossing our fingers and toes and holding our breath that we get to proceed with this event this September. And our hearts were broken with you in 2020 when you had to shut that down 2 weeks prior, but appreciate you being leaders in the community and leading by example. It's what we all have had to do the last 18 months and have all had to be nimble. So here's hoping our community rises to the occasion again.
Thank you.
All right, next up, we have an after action report. The Bogus Marathon, which happened in May, was a first for Boise on this particular event. We had a few different little hiccups, and so wanted to just make sure that we were bringing it to this committee as a whole to have a conversation about and give some feedback to the event coordinators and managers so that we can continue to have successful events in the future.
Maria, just bear with us for just a moment. They're going to be tuning in via Zoom. And I did ask Greg to switch it back over to the person view since there's no presentation to communicate, but it'll just be a second.
Perfect.
unless they are on David Wiley or David Bell.
Yeah.
are-
Here. Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
So we can probably go ahead and proceed, and then if we can see them, great.
So Kelly, should we just go around the room or is there a presentation?
No presentation. I can definitely pull up the memo that was sent to them if you'd like, or.
So while Kelly's pulling that up, let's just start going around the room. We did provide a memo to the event organizers on a few different issues that we had. We wanted to make sure that we were talking about as a community and as a committee. Maybe mute if you're not talking right now and you're not in the room. So David and David have had an opportunity to review the memo that we sent. So let's just maybe quickly go around the room again. John, we will start with you to provide any feedback. And David and David, if you guys have any questions, and again, if you are joining via Zoom and you're not talking, maybe please make sure that you're muted.
Thank you, Maria. This and any other marathon that comes to the city involves very complex, large-scale traffic control plans. And they're always a challenge to work on. One of the things, though, that I recommended and said we needed to have was all of the traffic control points manned before or at the time the race started. And unfortunately, that didn't happen. We had a number of traffic control points that didn't get manned on time. And I think going forward, that's a requirement. If we have people that are supposed to be at a point at 6 o'clock or whenever the event starts, they need to be there. And we can't count on them being there at 7 o'clock or 7:15 and then having to be late and causing issues not only for the runners, but also for the traffic that those runners have to try to avoid. So, Maria, from our point of view, that was the number one problem that we saw.
Great, thank you, John. And David, just let me know in between folks if I can't quite see you, so feel free to pop in at any point if you want to respond or have additional questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the feedback on that, we did have for our volunteer flaggers a flagger coordinator from our staff that checked in all the runners prior to 6 o'clock, or all the flaggers prior to 6 o'clock, and made sure that they were given their equipment and the location. And all our volunteer flaggers did arrive before 6 o'clock. We did have issues with the certified flaggers provided by the traffic control company. And when we tried to address that with the supervisor that was in charge, he could not provide me more information as to where the missing flaggers were. And then when we tried to attempt to contact his supervisor, there was no contact as well. So I know that several of these issues that were brought up are a direct result of the traffic control company that we worked with not executing per the agreement and arrangement that we had made with them. And so that is definitely one of the areas I think that overall this event, there was some struggle with the traffic control company executing that caused several of these problems. Obviously, as the event coordinators, that does come back to us, and we'll make sure that we are addressing those in the future going forward.
Okay, I think that's a great way to do it. I will want to remind you though that the police typically make a round of the event course prior to the event kicking off, and they have the legal and the moral right to hold the event until all the stations are manned properly. And going forward, that may mean that a 6 o'clock kickoff does not start until 6:15, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whenever all those people show up, so that we can make it safe for the runners.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Can I chime in too? This is David, the CEO of Runtastic. I'd love to provide you with the list of the flaggers that we had. And moving forward, we had our supervisor at the Idaho Transportation Department at that building out in front that checked in all of our volunteer flaggers. I think the issue, once again, coming back to that barricade company, I think in the future, what we need to do with them is actually get a list of their certified flaggers and their phone numbers and the names and phone numbers. I think that's something that didn't happen. They just said, hey, we have flaggers. We gave them the spots. They said they'll be here. And then when they weren't there, we didn't have someone directly to contact except for the barricade company, like David said, trying to call them and reach out to them and saying, hey, where are these guys? So I think for the future, to help remedy this, number one, different barricade company. Number two, getting that list of certified flaggers so that we don't have, so that we can start the race on time and have it be a safely. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Shane, anything on your end?
No, I did not have any issues with it.
Great. Conrad?
Maria, thank you. I have no feedback. Unless David and David have something regarding trash and recycling or members of this committee that they saw could be improved on. But other than that, I don't have anything.
Great. Anybody else to my right? No. Ada County paramedics?
I don't know where or which company you all had used to do the flagging or if it was a volunteer. I do know that where our ambulance was staged, they needed to assist that flagger with some traffic control issues and knowledge of who to bring through and what to do. So as far as my staff trying to help catch up with whatever was happening there.
And that was at the station of Bogus Basin and Paso Fino, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was one of the locations that there should have been a certified flagger provided by the traffic control company.
I just wanted you to be.
Yeah, because there was another offshoot that was there that was just a volunteer flagger, but then the actual kind of assisting in that traffic control should have been a certified flagger.
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted you to be aware of that. The staff was dealing with that. My staff was trying to assist with those things and having those people come through safely and pass through on the roadway, and then also give runners direction as to where they needed to be going.
Okay.
And then the only other part to the safety part of or health of the runner was not having that sweep vehicle in the rear to potentially leave somebody up on the mountain. So other than that, we'll go forward and see if we can't fix those little glitches.
Do you want to address that sweeper vehicle now or later down the line?
No, go ahead right now, it's fine.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, I honestly, first, thank you for helping with that flagger. The police also stepped up. We really enjoyed working with the police department and the officers along the course. They did an amazing job, and so they're to be commended for their help on State Street. And Irene, I think it was Irene. I talked to the officer for a second that was coordinating that, and you could tell that the certified flagger that was there was also wasn't on their A game, and so the police really stepped up there on that location as well. I as the event coordinator, I was up at the half marathon start for the half marathon start, which started at 6:30, and then proceeded up the course because there were some barricade issues up the course. And so I wanted to go check on the runners and make sure that they were taken care of correctly. At that time, that's when I ran into, her name's Carrie Kelly. She ended up finishing the race just under 7 hours at 6 hours and 53 minutes. She was even at that point at mile 5 or 6 where I met into her. She was, she was kind of far behind all the runners, and we had a quick conversation. As you guys know, that morning, or may not know, at the marathon start, it was snowing almost until the time that the race started. There was about an inch and a half of snow on the ground for the first 2 or 3 miles. After that, actually, around 6:10 in the morning, the rain let up, and the clouds kind of cleared, and it became just a beautiful day. So for our half marathoners, they were able to stay in the buses, and the marathoners, we held the buses and had them stay in the buses until the start of the race so that they could remain dry. And that worked out really, really well. So our half marathoners got a great, amazing race, perfect temperatures, really. And our marathoners just for the first maybe couple miles, and then that cleared up as well. Anyways, going along, I talked to Carrie, and then I checked in on her maybe 3 or 4 times. Once she got down to the trail system, I guess before that, our aid station manager, John, he also checked on her and relayed information about her, and also the second to last runner, Jason Young, who came in right under our time restriction of 6 hours. He came in at 5 hours and 45 minutes. So he relayed to those aid stations what runners were still out on the course, so that they could, so that they knew when those runners were going to be there, and also had the right fluids for them, ready for them. So he checked on her a few times, and then I checked on her a couple times while she was on the green belt. Since there's no way to get a vehicle there, I had the 4-wheeler, and I went and checked on her a couple times. So I know that there wasn't a sweeper vehicle per se, but we did have a sweeper vehicle in the sense that we had our aid station manager who was checking on the aid stations, and then the runners along, and as he did so, checking along the runners along the course, and then he did follow behind and picking up the aid stations afterwards. I also, and then also along the green belt where vehicles couldn't, I did check on her a couple times. We did pick up a runner at mile 21, close to the water park, and she was having some hip issues, so we transferred her back to the finish line. And I think that her parents just met us, and they picked her up and took her home. I don't know if she saw any medical attention. She just had her hip cramped up and she couldn't continue. So we went out and picked her up and took her back to where she could get further assistance from her family. I think that is about all I had for if that helps answer some of the questions as to the sweeper vehicle, as how we proceeded. We also, with Carrie Kelly, I also mentioned to her that she was falling behind the deadline of the time of when the race is supported, and said that because the race was only supported for 6 hours, and I can't remember what we told her with the canyon had to be reopened at a certain time, not the canyon, but Bogus Basin Road, that if that happened, that she would need to move to the side and disobey all traffic laws. And she said, I'm completely aware of that. I knew going into this that I wasn't gonna make it under the deadline, and so I knew going into this that I would have to self-support at some point if necessary. But then we did take care of her and made sure that even all the aid stations still had adequate fluids for her, and then also that we did check up on her, and I actually gave her medal when she came across the finish line, because even though we were starting to clean up, that's the thing that we leave up the longest is the finish line arch, so that even those last runners, even if they aren't under the deadline, they still get that sense of accomplishment. So anyways, that's my report on her, and if you'd like us to do things differently for next year, we're happy to.
Great, thank you. Jesse?
Yeah, the only concerns fire has, I'm reading the notes here, and it looks like there were several changes made to the route up until the day before the event. When we have an event, we like to put out notifications to our crews, the route of the event, and if that's changed, that could affect our emergency crews. So just maybe try to do better with finalizing that route next time.
Yeah, with that, I think it was just a matter of who got what information. I had sent the full route, but it was really just an image to everyone, as well as kind of our course packet. And I think that comes back to me on the course packet didn't show all of the green belt. And then after initially submitting that to Kelly and things, she gave me the checklist of who to go through. And so I started working with Summer Altieri and sent Summer the exact Greenbelt location we were going, which was our plan always from the beginning. There was, once again, the traffic control company, when they were doing the certified traffic control plan, he kept the control plan going through Esther Simplot Park instead of following where we had intended. And I attempted to correct him on several times. And then at last, he finally did it based on what we had planned. And that was when John Wasson was noticed and was made aware that it was going up to Veterans Memorial Park, and informed us that we had not talked to Garden City. And that was simply because from looking at it on maps, it all looked like it was still part of Boise City. It's right there on that border. And I just made an assumption that the Greenbelt was all Boise City. And so I didn't flag that was a small section covered by Garden City. And so due to that, we did end up changing the course the day before to do an out and back, and it just slightly adjusted the course. But going forward, we will be much more meticulous on the jurisdictions that will be involved in the race, making sure that everyone, even if it feels like that it's not applicable, we will make sure everyone has absolutely all the details for the entire course, every aspect of it, so that there is no confusion, and that we make sure we get the proper permissions for every aspect of the event.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
And I want to thank John Wasson, actually, I guess over Zoom, for his help in this race, for his meticulous. And I know that with the flaggers, some of those requirements, and then finding some of those things that we should have understood that the Garden City we should have realized that was earlier on, and for him to find that and say, hey, you need to contact these guys. And then the flaggers, I just think he did an excellent job and a meticulous job at making sure that things went well.
All right, BPD.
Well, I think at this point, we've pretty much covered it. I mean, be like beating a dead horse at this point. I would say that your volunteers, they did much better than your traffic control company. So, I mean, if you could use those volunteers, if you do it in the future, that would be perfect. I would also say, Mr. Wiley, I do appreciate that you were very responsive during the race. Every time that I called, you immediately answered the phone and corrected the problem that we needed to correct. And also, if you do it again, I would say that, I would be more than happy well before the race to meet with the traffic control representative to make sure that we're covering all those areas that need to be covered, so we don't run into those issues again. But that's all I have.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I am super proud of this team because we pulled together at the last minute to help you more than once to be able to address some communication gaps. And I would say it was not always met with the kindness that we're seeing now from you. And there was a lot of these points that we brought up during those conversations that did come to fruition. So would like to see moving forward that we have better conversations, and when we ask for things that we can get them solidified in a timely manner. And that includes talking to the external partners that we did pull in from Ada County Sheriff's Office, Bogus Basin, Boise County. Those things also need to be considered. So, and as Sergeant Konvalinka said, not to beat a dead horse, but we did have a runner that was up there by themselves. And from our understanding, when the officer went up to find them, the aid stations were already cleared and they did call for a ride. So I don't believe that's the same person you're referencing. We just need to make sure that everything is as safe as possible and that when we agree to something like a sweeper vehicle, it is there. So we do have these items noted. So during the next plan, we'll just need to make sure that when we agree on something, we can actually see it occur at the event.
Okay.
So I'll just reiterate, you all were my my first event coordinators as the chair of the special events committee. And I'll say in the first meeting, I was really encouraged. The plan was really good. It was a great meeting. Your presentation set the bar, frankly, for the rest of that meeting. The other event organizers that followed, their presentations weren't quite as comprehensive. I will say, Boise is a city that loves special events. It's a running city. We love our marathons. Our mayor is an ultra marathoner. I think she's run the Boston Marathon at least once, if not more than that. So we are very, very supportive of events like this. We also recognize that your responsibility as an event organizer is to put on a really great event. Our responsibility is to the people who live in our community. Like, we have been entrusted, like, we're all public servants, right? We serve the public. They entrust us with their safety. They entrust us to make sure that we're doing right by them and protecting them. That is a responsibility that we all as public servants take really, really seriously. So I just want to reiterate what Rachel said. That first meeting was great. And most of the issues that we have brought up to you in the after action report are issues that folks who are experts about this community and experts about their subject matters brought up in advance. We talked about all of that in the first meeting. And then when we followed up with that, frankly, we got a lot of pushback. I understand what your responsibility is in terms of your event. But I think the pushback made leading up to this event much more difficult than it needed to be. And frankly, at times, it really felt like we were getting we're going to do it anyway, and we'll just ask for forgiveness on the back end. And that's just not the kind of partnership that we're looking for with event organizers that are having it in the community. So, we would love to see this event continue, this race continue in the community. I think we're just looking for more cooperation and more trust from you and the expertise that this team brings to the table about how to have really successful events in a growing community. So I think that essentially sums up the feedback that we have for you around the event. We keep the after action reports on file. So when the event comes around next year, we can chat about specifics again.
Council Chambers, this is David Bell, and the pushback, probably 99%, maybe all of it, came from me, and that was about a week. It was the meeting that we had, the pre-race meeting, for about a week before the event, and that pushback definitely shouldn't have happened, and so I apologize. That's one of the reasons why I commend John Wasson. I think we were putting that race together. COVID restrictions had lifted, and we put that race together in under 2 months. And I think that there was some really some deadlines that we had to meet that were rushed. And that's why we want to have this meeting today. It was a good 10 months in advance so that we can remedy those things quickly, way well out before the event. Some of that pushback that I had was that, like the week before the event, we found out in that meeting that we needed to have 39 volunteer flaggers. And so a lot of that pushback was just me thinking through, how do we find that many flaggers? Well, it was actually more than that with the certified flaggers, but 39 volunteer flaggers and plus another 6 certified flaggers. And so my pushback shouldn't have happened, but it was me thinking, how are we even going to do this? And definitely we weren't trying to put on something and then ask forgiveness later. We really spent some extra time, a ton of extra time, finding those volunteer flaggers and getting them, and it was a lot of work. So just to reiterate, like, I just don't want you to think that that's how we want to do business either. And we definitely want to cross every T and dot every I. And we don't want to have to come back next year and say, oh, we messed up again, you know, ask for forgiveness. That's not how we want to, you know, we don't want to leave a bad taste in your mouth. And we really did put forth every effort to fulfill the requirements that were needed. And I think that's why we're coming right now, is so that we can get those requirements fulfilled early on, so that it's much smoother.
Great, thank you.
Maria and David, this is Kelly from the clerk's office. So we do appreciate you guys tuning back in and working through these details for us. I do know that your original projected race date had to move because of Bogus Basin having conflicting events. So we do know that this year. So you did push the date back, I think a month is what it ended up being, and being a new event. And then the first one to kick off for COVID. Yes, there was a lot of hiccups, but we are here to help. Anything that you need, you can always filter it through me and I can get it to the proper people. But we do look forward to you choosing a date in conjunction with Bogus Basin well ahead of time that we can all focus on and work together to make it successful. I haven't been on the side of town that I've seen the posters that still advertise the marathon in about a month, but as of the end of June, there was still some posters up for Bogus Marathon. So I don't know if you have somebody here locally that could run out and do a sweep, or if you guys are in town again, working through logistics, just please be sure to get those taken care of.
Yeah, I have someone up in Boise that I should be able to have do a sweep of those locations.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, guys, just make sure if you forget a sign, it's not on my way to work.
Which signs we thought we picked up? I think that we missed a few. So do you know exactly what road those are? And we'll look back through and see which. We'll look back through our location, our spreadsheet of where we put up those, and we can pinpoint which ones are still up.
The one that I knew for sure was on Park Center Boulevard on my way out to float. So I will be doing that later on today, and I can confirm if that's still there. And I feel like, was there 2 out there?
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, you guys. We look forward to seeing you in a few months.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, before we adjourn, just a couple of reminders. We do have a couple pending approvals that are just on the horizon, so make note of those. And then after action reports due at the end of this week, Boise on the Water and Boise Brewing anniversary party due at the end of this week. So if anybody hasn't gotten their after action in about those 2 events, please let's take care of those. And Kelly, anything on calendar review before we sign off?
Nothing pressing. Rachel and I are still working on just keeping everything updated and with also Parks's list and whatnot to create the situational awareness. We do have the new calendar, which is minor information and details that Rachel has rolled out to city staff, and then we can get another spreadsheet out to everyone else at the end of this week. So
great, thank you. All right, thanks so much, everybody. We will see you all in a couple of weeks.